On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Metro Ford of OKC, we recap OU's spring game and discuss who stood out to us on the offense and the defense during it. In the National College Football Roundup, we discuss the possible changes coming to college football training camp, and we break down the latest college football playoff expansion news. To finish up, we give you our winners and losers of the weekend. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right. Our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's beautiful Monday, April 26th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Metro Ford of OKC. Metro Ford of OKC's inventory is the best of the best. In fact, they own more Black Widows and more 2021 F-150s than anybody else. They're the only Roush and Rocky Ridge dealer in the state. You can find a ride at Metro Ford of OKC that you can't find anywhere else in Oklahoma. Just like their selection of vehicles is unmatched, so is their customer service. The Metro Ford of OKC Difference program is included with the purchase of every new and pre-owned vehicle. It includes free oil changes for life, lifetime window tint, lifetime nitrogen fill for your tires, complimentary wheel locks, interior fabric protection, complimentary service loaners, a complimentary shuttle with service, and a complimentary multi-point inspection. Come feel the performance when you test drive a Roush or Raptor, and come see why the difference is real at Metro Ford of OKC. Visit metrofordofokc.com for more information, or go to the dealership and tell them we sent you. Now we're recording this on Sunday night. Just a reminder, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, to please leave us a 5-star review and comment with a guest you would like for us to get on the podcast. Ted, before we recap the OU spring game, it is the 1-year anniversary of the podcast. I went back, I looked it up. We have been doing this now for a full calendar year, and frankly, I think it's gone pretty well, right? Like I know we were a little nervous when we started off with this whole thing, but I feel like this year has kind of flown by doing the podcast. I know the last year was an interesting one, but from the podcast perspective, been pretty solid.
I will never forget the year we started, 2020. That's going to be one for the books. But yeah, it's in a sense flown by. I agree. You know, the season was awesome. That's when we were really starting to gear up, and there's been plenty of stuff going on so far this off season. But yeah, I feel like we've hit our stride pretty good a year in.
So thank you to all of us who have supported us over the last year. We really appreciate all the support. And as far as I know, we're not stopping anytime soon, Ted. I feel like you and I were both enjoying this. It's been really fun to get to work with you more. And I feel like people like it. So we're going to keep doing it. We're not going anywhere, people.
That's right. It's good time. We're having fun with it. And I think the timing is right. We're set up for a great football season, so the pod's going to be a lot of fun in the fall.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Okay, OU spring game. Let's start offensively, right? Because we got to talk about the winners first. The scoring system. I'm not entirely sure what happened at halftime there. Some points went off the board for the old red team, but it only matters that the offense wins. That's the important thing. Teddy, no one cares about the defense. You know that. We got to start with quarterback, right? Coming into it, what was your dream scenario, Teddy, for the offseason? What did you say you wanted to happen in the spring game?
Content, baby. Let's go. Your starter struggles, little lackluster performance. But, man, that freshman early arrival, boy, does he look good.
And that is exactly what happened. And the content will undoubtedly be there all the way up until the first game. But you look at what Spencer Rattler did on Saturday, 6 of 14 for 116 yards. Now, 50 of those yards, maybe should have been an interception. If you go to DJ Graham's Twitter and ask him, I think he's made it clear he thinks that was an interception. They kept it really vanilla with him in the spring game. I'm not taking anything from it, really, right? We've seen this guy in the battles during the season. We know he can play. All the coaches have told us how much he's improved from a mental aspect and from a leadership aspect. I'm not worried about the way that Spencer Rattler played, Ted. I think he'll be just fine. Maybe the most significant development for Rattler on Saturday was he is now a hat on the sideline guy. Every time the helmet came off, the hat went on, which you don't do that unless you know you are the guy. That is a straight up I am QB1 move right there.
Now, did he have a equipment
it was gray
guy
too.
walk up
gray.
and hand it to him? That's whenever the equipment guy is handling the hat for you. That's a big move right there. Honestly, Spencer probably should have played a little worse if he wants to win the Heisman, because I feel like the spring game has always been the worse you play, the better your season's going to be. Kyler was terrible. I don't know if you remember that year, but it was horrible weather, blowing like 50 miles an hour out of the north.
Couldn't complete a pass.
Everyone was like, oh my God, boy, we're really going to miss Baker. And then he goes and wins the Heisman Trophy. So don't take a whole lot from it. But, I'll say one thing for Spencer's performance. I thought he didn't have really anywhere to go with the football. That's one of the things is, I realized that he didn't hit on any big plays, but there weren't a whole lot of big plays to be had for him to hit on, period.
Yeah, and we saw the O-line struggle at times. We'll get to that, but Caleb Williams looked good, man. I mean, there's no other way to say it. All the hype, it makes all the sense in the world now, right? After seeing him out there, I was impressed with his athleticism. I got to show that athleticism, some of those read concepts where he was keeping the football, and he can run, man. He can definitely run. I think he ended up as the leading rusher, had like 61 yards rushing in the spring game, but he was efficient with the football in the passing game. 10 of 11, 99 yards, some unconventional throws, and we'd heard that his footwork is a little sloppy at times. That guy, he somehow throws it accurately off the wrong foot, throws it pretty accurately without his feet set. I mean, imagine when this kid gets that footwork ironed out, he looks like he's going to be an absolute star, man. He looks like he is going to be absolutely fantastic. And the fan base is fired up with how he looked in that game. And I was too. I was like, damn, this kid looks like he's going to be the truth.
Well, I'll tell you what I was excited about. The running ability is always something that whenever you've got an athletic quarterback in a spring game and they're pulling them down on the edge and taking off and running with it, it's always going to look a little bit more impressive maybe than it is because of the blue jersey thing. And I don't know. I guess for me, all that stuff was fine. But what I really was impressed with was some of just the smooth throws on the out routes and the little get open routes over the middle, the poise, the calm, just being able to go out there and run the offense and do it efficiently and look like he's been there. And this is only a guy that's 14, 15 practices in with this team. So I thought that was what was really impressive. The running stuff, I factor that in. We all know that it gets way more difficult to run the football for quarterbacks whenever we've got live ammo out there. But I thought all around, he's as advertised. He's the total package, man. And you're right. How short is the leash for Spencer Rattler? That's going to be the conversation. And here's the thing, and I've always wondered what this is like, and I don't know if you've had any experience with it on the offense, but what does that do for the starting quarterback whenever the backup is the star? What does that do for his confidence? And I'm not necessarily saying that Caleb Williams is outgrown Spencer Rattler's star, but when everyone's talking about your backup, it can't be a good thing for your mentality.
I don't know. It usually depends on how you're wired, right? Like if you're ultra confident, which I think Spencer Rattler is, he's not that worried about it, right? Because he knows that if he does what he needs to do, he's going to be the guy, right? He already has an advantage mentally, right? We know that although Caleb Williams looked really good in the spring game, he's been making some mistakes in practice, right? So I think the true alpha dogs, right, which is what you want your quarterback to be, that or at least that's how I've always felt. I don't think you worry about the guy behind you. I think you're concerned about you and your guys and like your offense. I think that's the mentality Rattler has with it. And I interviewed him after the game, got to talk to him quite a bit there on the sideline. Also, I mean, he was happy that Caleb was playing well. He was. He didn't seem maybe threatened isn't the proper word, but Caleb Williams was out there looking fantastic, and Rattler did not look bothered one bit. I mean, he just didn't. So I think he's one of those guys that it's more about, okay, yeah, that's great that he's doing his thing. All right. But you can only control what you can control, right? And I assume that's how Rattler will approach this entire situation.
Well, the takeaway is really nothing more than I think our backup quarterback situation looks pretty good, both with Caleb Williams and Micah Bowens. I thought Micah Bowens looked pretty good too.
Why is he at OU? Right. Okay. Now I'm glad they have him, right? You can never have too many talented quarterbacks, but just the glimpse we got of that kid, shouldn't he be challenging for the starting job somewhere? Like, once again, very glad he's in Norman, right? Maybe he makes some appearances in a game and they put a package together or something for him, but doesn't he seem really talented to be a third string quarterback?
Yeah, it's strange. I don't know. I guess if you come to Oklahoma and spend some time in Lincoln's system, it seems to be a just doing that will basically get you a transfer to anywhere you want to go.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much anyone that's been a backup here has been able to transfer somewhere really good. And I don't know if he just feels like that experience is something that he wants. I can't answer that. I honestly I don't know. He knew the situation he was coming into.
He put off some Kyler Murray vibes, didn't he? Like I know not
Right.
quite the speed or the arm strength or anything, but he was running around and I was like, this is the third string quarterback? Like, what in the world?
Yeah, he looked good. He looked good. Our quarterback room is pretty salty.
Yeah, definitely salty. One thing I will say, because I was able to be, hey, back on the sidelines, baby. Back
How was
on the
that?
sideline.
Yeah, how was that?
It was
Feel like it
great. I
that's why
was
you
talking shit
were
with the
doing that job so
kids.
much better, man.
It was so much fun being back down there, messing around with all those dudes, just giving them a hard time. Dude, I was absolutely, me and Creed were roasting Andrew Rame because we're like, dude, you're a reflection of us now. Like, we need to tighten it up. We need to get those arms a little bigger. He's like, dude, I've only been healthy for like 4 weeks after surgery. Leave me alone. We were straight up picking on him. It was fun.
I
It
love it.
was it was like it felt like being not like on the team or anything like that, but just like that sense of camaraderie where you're just
Sure.
joking around. It was great. I had a blast. I'm not gonna lie. But one thing I noticed about Caleb Williams, if they didn't score points, like if they didn't put drives together, that kid was pissed. Like he was pissed on the sideline. Like he is a competitive dude. I think when you look at his ability to throw the football, his ability to run the football, his competitive spirit. Like, this kid is wired exactly the way you want a quarterback to be wired. So I know OU fans are fired up for that for that in the future. You may have to wait a year, or will you? We'll discuss that throughout the offseason.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Wide receiver, a couple guys stood out. Jayden Hazelwood probably had the catch of the day with the one-hander down the sideline, Ted, but man, he still does not look like himself to me. Doesn't carry himself like he used to as well. I don't know if it's a little hesitation, if he's still worried about the knee. I don't know what's going on with that, but he did have that nice play. He looks great. He's not, if you go back and watch the game again, and I've watched a couple of times now, he's not running well, man. Like, he does not look the way that he looked pre-injury. They got to get him back to 100%. And, when I interviewed Lincoln Riley after the game, he made sure to emphasize to me that he wasn't even close to 100%, because I asked him about the big play, and I don't know, man, it's just taking this kid a while.
It's really only a year, though. He's right at a year, right? Isn't that about when he heard it? April or so last. That is whenever they sent him home, and everyone went home, and he got hurt. So I I think he was. We saw him back in the fall come in really late, and I think that has everyone kind of feeling like he should be way ahead of where he was then. But a year for ACL is still about the. I mean, it
Right.
wasn't very long ago that this was the time that he's just now starting to practice with the team. So I don't know. I think there's still time to be patient with it, but sometimes you never know. And the real telltale sign is going to be when they come back in the fall. If he had a really good summer, if he could stay healthy, or some of the soft tissue stuff in the opposite leg, hamstring in the opposite leg. A lot of guys fight problems there because of the change in the gait. I don't know. Just have to kind of see how it goes. But I agree that he just looks like a guy out there, and we know that's not what his talent is.
Right. I just hope he gets back, because I really do think if the whole situation with the knee doesn't happen, that he would have had a massive year last year with everything we were hearing about him leading up to the season. So, yeah, we'll see, man. I just hope he gets there, because that, frankly, they need him to get there, right? They do. They need him to be what he can be, and that all depends on his health. But a guy that certainly lived up to the hype is Mario Williams. I mean, Ted, how exciting is this kid? He did have the fumble on the reverse,
He
but
was. They had it blocked up too, man. He was going to get around that edge, and that's. I think Lincoln. That was like, we're showing off the Lambo here. Let's watch this guy go.
I was pretty excited to watch him kick it into fourth or fifth gear on that, but just slippery butterfingers there, and dropped it, and turnover, which is not ideal, but hey, no harm, no foul. It was the spring game. But he did make the nice competitive catch on the long throw from Rattler. Once again, took it away from DJ Graham. Was it an interception? I don't know. You decide. But that is what this kid brings: big play ability, and not just in the vertical passing game, but even some of those like the short concepts he caught. Ted, you could just see the suddenness
That
after
ball
he
he
caught the
caught,
ball.
where he had his back to the defense. He catches the ball and like gives a fake in the air before he even comes down and is setting himself up for a cut. I thought that play right there showed me that, okay, this guy's got something.
Even on the broadcast, you were like, "Wait, what was that? What was he? Was that
It's
like a
pretty
was that a
cool.
pump fake in the air? Or did he just pulled off?" Yeah, I think this guy is going to take some short passes and make them into big explosive plays. He looked great. I mean, he really did. Theo Weiss didn't play. He was on a scooter in a cast. Talked to Theo, said he'll get off the scooter and into a boot here in a couple weeks. So he didn't sound too concerned. So I don't think that's something that is going to linger too long. I think he's going to be just fine once training camp, the season roll around. So don't worry too much about Theo. You look at Mike Woods is going to be added from Arkansas. That kind of happened right before the spring game. So we're going to add another 6'1", 200-pound wide receiver to that room. You can never have too many good ones, I suppose.
No, and he's an experienced guy. He's made a lot of plays there in the SEC. I think he's got over the last 2 years right around 1,000 yards, like 33, 32 catches a year over the last 2 years. Solid wide receiver, big physical guy, good all-around athlete. Was really doing some good things there in that Arkansas offense. Remember now, it's the old Baylor system with Kendall Briles there. So that they recruit really good wide receivers and turn wide receivers into good players. So I think that could be a good addition, and it's coming at the right time. Hazelwood not being what he was, and maybe a question as to whether he gets back. We know the Bridges situation. You talked about Theo Weiss over on a scooter. Yeah, I'd say we need to solidify that room a little bit better.
Yeah. Cody Jackson, I think, is a guy that's going to come along. Saw him out there getting some snaps. Didn't have any
We still
production.
got one more freshman coming, right?
I lose track of all these kids.
Is it Farouk? Is he?
Yeah,
coming?
he's not in early, so he will
Right.
be there in the summer. And then you kind of consider Stogner, obviously a pass catcher, not a wide receiver, but he didn't look like himself either, right? I still think, and we've talked about it a lot, but it's going to take some time for the big guy to build that leg back up. He was not.
I was honestly
moving.
surprised that they had him going. Really,
I was shocked. I was like, wait, why is he out there? But hey, I'm sure he's an extremely competitive guy.
They didn't have Braden Willis either. They're thin at that spot.
Yeah, I still think that tight end H-back spot, they're going to add another piece. I would assume whether it's JUCO, whether it's transfer portal, I'd be really surprised if there's not another guy kind of in that mold, big athletic tight end type guy in that room once the season rolls around. I'd be surprised if they don't add another piece there. Any other wide receiver stand out to you? They gave Drake Stoops a scholarship.
Yeah, that was awesome. And I didn't know, that was weird. I didn't realize Mims switched jersey numbers to number 5. He was wearing number 5 all day long with Billy Bowman all over him.
Wow.
Let's go. Come on.
That was a fun matchup to watch, though. You're right.
He played good
Mims,
now.
Mims didn't do much when old Billy Bowman was on him. That's just the truth.
No, it was I thought it just kind of shows you that how far the level of play in the secondary has come, that you just didn't have very many big plays, really. They hit on a couple of crossers later in the second half that turned into some nice plays. They had the deep ball there to Williams that Graham thought was an interception, but all in all, it was a rough day for the wide receivers, just finding some room to get open and work.
If anyone is concerned about Marvin Mims, don't be. When we talked to Grinch in the production meeting for the broadcast, he said that it was kind of funny. We asked him about offensive players that had stood out to him, and he said that it's the weirdest thing, when Mims comes up in one-on-ones, that there's not many defensive backs that are in a rush to take on that matchup. So I think
hey, hang on, let me get my shoe real quick. You take this one. I got to tie the shoe.
I got to get retaped real quick. I got to retape real quick. But so I'm not worried about Marvin Mims at all. They moved him around a little bit, which is fun, but I think he's going to have a huge year, and the coaches absolutely rave about that kid. Okay, running back wise, Eric Gray, right? I mean, that's the story of the spring game in the running back room. saw his ability to line up in multiple spots, got him the ball in space in the pass game, got to see some of that elusiveness that we've heard about. I like his decisiveness in the run game, not a ton of hesitation, kind of a one-cut guy on the touchdown roll, on the touchdown run, saw him be able to make a guy miss in space and made him miss very badly. I mean, didn't even touch the kid. But from what we saw, he looks like the starting running back to me. I don't think there's much of a debate about that. Now, still a long way to go between now and when they kick off against Tulane, but he looked like the best running back they got.
And it wasn't really even close, was it? Didn't seem like it.
I mean,
It
we
looked
barely saw Kennedy Brooks. He tripped, and then we never saw him again. So, but yeah, he looked the best. He did.
he looked like it's Eric Gray, and then everyone else is kind of fighting and scrapping to see who's going to get the carries underneath him. But I got to tell you, that's frustrating to me, and it shouldn't be the case that a transfer in from Tennessee comes in and day one on campus is by far the best running back that we've got. We have got to get better depth at that position. And I don't blame DeMarco Murray for that because he still hasn't been able to recruit. The guy has not been able to leave campus and recruit yet since he's been here. And that's whenever he's going to be at his best. So we've got to get better at running back. We do. And kudos to them for going out, knowing that, and landing a transfer like Eric Gray. But we've got to get some more guys in the pipeline on campus, freshmen that are going to be breakout players at running back.
Yeah. We saw Kennedy Brooks barely. It sounds like DeMarco Murray wants more from him, especially in practice, and that he absolutely gets after Kennedy Brooks. That's what it sounds like to me. Also, Mikey Henderson, we saw him get some time there, had the safety, which was weird, but he certainly looks the part. He's got all the talent in the world, but I was standing over there on the sideline, just kind of some weird body language from him, some weird reactions during the game. I mean, DeMarco was absolutely getting after his ass a couple times. So it is going to be interesting to see how he develops at that position and if it sticks, right? Because he had a role in the H-back room, right? He's kind of that utility guy, the most athletic out of the guys in that room, more in a running back mold. But I just don't know. Does all of a sudden he just gets stuck down on the depth chart when he could help you do some things? I don't know. It's a weird situation for Mikey Henderson, I feel like.
I still think that he's going to find a home because for the most part last year it was in 20 personnel split backs, and he was playing the fullback position, but he kind of appears to be a running back. I think that's still where he's going to find his home because he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He could be a guy that carries it, but he can also be a really good blocker for you, whether it's sealing the edge, leading up on a backer, doing some different things there. So I think he's going to find a home in that package, but I still see the athleticism from him that he could be a good running back as long as he's got the vision, because he still is the one guy in the room that has the size. 6'2", 230 some pounds. He's the biggest guy in there by a huge margin, and that comes in handy in fourth quarters whenever you've got a lead. So I think there's still some areas where Mikey Henderson can carve out some reps.
Yeah, and he's got a natural feel for running the ball, and it's not like he's done it a lot in the past, but running back is more than that. It's more than turning and handing you the ball and say, okay, hey, use your gifts, go get yards. There's pass protection. There's the screen game. There's, knowing when you may need to clean something up and help an offensive lineman out. there's a lot to playing that position, and he's he's getting better at it, but it's still a work in progress. And then Marcus Major looks good, right?
Mhm.
It's going to be a battle between Brooks and Henderson and Major to get carries, to get reps,
I thought Major
and
ended the season really nicely last year.
I think
Um,
he's a good player, man.
I do too.
Oh,
He's a good all around back, and for whatever reason, it's been hard for him to carve out time.
yeah, I think that Marcus Major could go a lot of places and be 1,000-yard back. I do. I think he's got that level of talent, but hey, you you got to earn it every day, right? And for whatever reason, and we talk about it all the time, coaches want to win games. They put the players on the field that they feel are going to help them win games. So Marcus Major's got to do something a little different or a little better. And the thing about him is, I don't think he has that one thing where you go, oh, yeah, he's the best we have at this. I
Right.
think he's good at a lot of things, but I don't think he has a standout quality. If that does that make sense?
Yeah. No, 100%. Especially in that room. He'd probably have a bunch of standout qualities in some different schools. He'd probably easily be the guy that's a fantastic all around back and could do everything for him. One last thing I'll say kind of about the entire running back group. If you're underwhelmed watching them yesterday, you have to remember a couple things. Number one, they were going against the best defensive line they're going to see all season. And number two, the offensive line is still a patchwork. Not only are they trying to figure out where to play some guys, but they had 3, 4 guys standing over there in their jerseys just watching.
They like the pieces,
They love the pieces.
but they just haven't quite figured out the puzzle. Yeah, O line. I did think that Andrew Rame looked comfortable at center, right? I think that this offseason is going to be really important for him. He needs to get stronger. He needs to lean out a little more. That'll help him move a little more efficiently, especially in the run game. And I talked to him about those things, and Creed and I absolutely roasted his ass. So we'll make sure that we stay on him to where he gets nice and lean and jacked, folks. So we'll see. But if I had to guess, I think he looks like the guy at center. I really do. I was impressed with what I saw from him in the spring game. He's got a long way to go, right? A long way to go to be a great center, but I think he has got he's got the tools, and something I learned, he's got the confidence. That kid's that's a confident kid now. I'm telling you. So
Firing right back at you guys, huh?
oh yeah. So I liked it, but you look at the rest of the guys around him, Chris Murray. It's going to be interesting to see what happens because he's a good player, but if he doesn't win the center job, I can't imagine that he would start at right guard. Now maybe he does if Anton Harrison doesn't end up completely figuring out at right tackle and they got to play Tyrese Robinson at right tackle, but he feels like a guy that is a good player, but may be kind of that swing interior guy, almost like the one of the linemen that you dress out on Sundays in the NFL in case the center or either guard gets hurt. That's kind of how we like the role I see him in.
Yeah. Well, you've got to have guys like that because ultimately, offensive line it's a brutal position to play. A lot of injuries there, guys falling into legs, backs, getting tangled up and falling across a guy's leg. There's all kinds of things that can happen there. So you've got to have depth and you got to have guys that you can trust to do multiple things. And we've seen, gosh, forever that if a left guard gets hurt, that may mean the left tackle is going to slide down and play guard, and the right tackle goes to left tackle, and you bring in another guy to play. It's musical chairs a lot of places, and this it looks like this offensive line is going to be no different. I just hope that Murray can find a place where he's comfortable, confident, and can start playing some of the football that really you've expected from him for a year now.
Right. Yeah. And if he can get the mental aspect of things figured out at center, I think he'll play some snaps there. I really do, because he's
How
got the
long do you give
physical.
a guy before he figures it out mentally? He's been here for a year now. And I know last year was a little bit different, but he had a full season. I know he was banged up for the early part of it in training camp, but how long does it take for a guy to grasp it at center?
I think, yeah, I mean, it can take different guys like different length of times. Like sometimes it just clicks for a guy right away, right? Just understands the X's and O's, has good sense of spatial awareness, like just gets it. And some guys really, really have to work at it. I mean, just really have to study and study and study and just keep doing that until it's kind of ingrained in your brain. But I don't know. I don't know. I know one thing is this is the year, right? So you can't wait much longer.
Yeah.
I mean, if he doesn't figure it out by training camp, like you can't put a guy in at center that doesn't know the offense inside and out. You just can't do it. It puts everyone on the offensive line in a bad situation. It puts the quarterback in a bad situation. You just can't have that. Now, a guy like that can play guard because he's got a center that knows what he's doing there to tell him what to do. All right, believe
Yeah.
me, been there. That worked. You can work with that.
Well, hey,
But
I equate it to linebacker. I've seen some of the best athletes you could ever imagine look like total fools and can't move, slow, getting blown off the ball, getting blocked nonstop because it's all right here. They can never unleash their athleticism because all they're doing is thinking, trying to figure out where they're supposed to be. What's my responsibility? Am I lined up right? And there's a million things going on in your head. And whenever that's going on, you can never actually play like you're capable of athletically.
right. So we'll see what happens with Chris Murray. A couple other guys we saw out there. Eric Swinson hurt his calf on the first series.
Jeez.
That man cannot buy a break. I mean, he just
Was
can't
it
buy a break.
bad or was it just tweaked it?
He just I said it popped. I was like, oh, awesome, man. Like you just you just can't buy a break. That poor kid. Wanye
It's what I always
Morris.
say though. Once you once you injure something seriously, and whether you have surgery or whatever, like all of your mechanics are thrown off, and it's usually uh, to some degree or another going to be a cascade of injuries following that, and you just hope that they're not severe. It seems like all of his have been bad.
Yes. All of the above. Yes. Okay. Wanye Morris, talked to him down there on the sideline, said he is feeling a lot more comfortable. And I told him he better wear 64 and take some damn pride in that number. And he saw the look in my eye and he was like, okay, this guy is completely serious about that. But one thing he told me, he needs to get stronger. He's got to get stronger in the weight room. So Benny Wiley and his staff, that's going to be a big point of emphasis for Wanye in the offseason. But thought he moves well. Looks like he knows the system well. Wasn't exactly a dominant force in the running game in the spring game, but did some good things. So this is a guy that's got a lot of potential. He's got to put the work in though, Ted. And he should start for this team.
Yeah.
When you talk about his talent, he should start for this team. He's got to put a little more work in. He's got to take it a little more seriously. And he seems like a guy that wants to be good. So I was encouraged after my conversation with him.
Well, I hope so. He's athletic guy that what Bill's recruited him for a while, so has a good feel for him. And hopefully whenever they get everyone healthy and they're all together and that room gets really really competitive, and that hopefully they get a good solid long summer of work with the strength and conditioning coaches to work on some of those areas, whether it's Rame or Morris getting stronger, or some of the other guys just trying to get healthy and get their bodies right. It's going to be an important summer, man. If maybe the biggest thing we learned during the spring game is that this team is beat up, man. They're beat up.
Yeah.
And I hope that the injury bug isn't something that goes on through the fall.
Right. So got to get right, and then got to get better in the offseason. You got to get bigger. You got to get faster. You got to get stronger. Just has to happen, especially along the offensive line, because you have some relatively young guys that are going to play. Now, I will say this. Marquis Hayes looks fantastic. He slimmed up. He told me he's still got all of his strength. He feels good. He's moving well. I really like the way that Keese looks right now. Tyrese Robinson, nothing serious. Had a hand injury. Told me cast is coming off soon. Lincoln Riley told us that he was playing the best out of any lineman until he got hurt. So that's extremely encouraging. And then Anton Harrison just has to get back from this minor knee thing, and they're expecting really big things from that kid. But the offseason is huge for that group. We've talked about the O-line maybe being the position group that can make or break a national championship run for this program this year. They have to have a big time offseason. If they don't, I'm not going to freak out or anything, but the season's not going to go the way that they want it to go if these guys don't put in the work and don't improve from a strength and just physicality standpoint.
Yeah. Anything that you would say, is there a reason that this group's getting so banged up, or is it just bad luck? Can we point to anything strength and conditioning wise or anything like that, or is it just a string of bad luck?
Is it maybe it's because they're playing against like fresh defensive linemen every damn snap. All the rotating going. I look up, the 4th-string defense is in, and the defensive tackles are like Corey Roberson's one of the defensive tackles. He played last year. He's like a 4th-string guy now. What the like LaRon Stokes, who was what Big 12 newcomer of the year just a couple years ago, is running like 4th team. So I can't comment on any of the strength and conditioning stuff. I got no idea. It's not like I'm in there doing workouts with them, but you would assume that with all the resources they've got and all the, all the technology that Benny Wiley and his group is using, that they're doing all the right things, right? What the latest, science tells you to do. I don't know, dude, but I don't know. I don't know why they're so beat up.
Well, hopefully they just get healthy and have a good summer. Going to be critical.
Absolutely. Okay. We went long on the offense because they're the winners, Teddy. They won. White team won. Just wanted to remind you one more time. Defense, I always just listen to what you have to say about that group. What stood out to you?
Defense looked awesome. You want to move on to call your shot? Just joking. I think Bowman was great at nickel. That's the one thing that stuck out to me. And you've heard me talk about that spot. It's the linchpin of the defense. There's so much that goes on right there. That guy has to do so many different things. A lot of teams now run their best wide receivers at that spot, or pass catchers, even tight ends. Think about Iowa State and Kolar. So it's a very difficult spot. You're in the run game. You're in the blitz game. You're drawing some tough matchups, and you don't have the typical safety help that some of the other spots do. Like where if you're a corner and you're up man to man on a guy, you know exactly what's happening on the back end. You got a half field safety over the top of you or something like that, or you're a third player yourself. So it's a little more difficult position. And as an early arrival freshman, I thought he was fantastic, especially drawing coverage on Mims. We know how good Mims is, and he knocked out some freshman records last year at a place like Oklahoma's had some really good freshman wide receivers. That he's legit, and I thought Bowman did a great job on him. Lacks a little bit of size, but makes up for it in speed, athleticism, body control. Looked totally comfortable out there. Loved what I saw from him, and really, I loved what I saw from the whole rotation of secondary players, corners, whether it was Eaton or Graham or Washington. I mean, there's so many guys rolling through. Latrell McCutcheon, early arrival, is going to be a star. I thought they all looked good. There was nothing easy for the wide receivers in the secondary, and I think we've got a couple of possible future stars in Key Lawrence and Jordan Mukes. I think both of those guys are going to be really good. And I know Mukes had that missed tackle on Gray, but that's like welcome to big boy football, freshman. That stuff's going to happen. He's got time to develop that and get a little bit more help up front from his guys where he's not in that type of position. But Turner Yell, fantastic. Dude's a beast. I love what they get from him. All in all, I thought the secondary, it's refreshing with how far this group has come in 2.5 years.
Yeah, and we didn't even see Woody Washington out there. And when we talked to Grinch before the game, right, he said that he thought Woody Washington had a chance to be the best corner in the conference next season. So you just add that to the competition, and it's going to be really interesting to see how that secondary shakes out because they got a lot of options. Man, that is going to be it's not only going to be a competition like leading up to the first game. This feels like a situation where it could be a week by week starting lineup with that secondary. Where
it could be a series by series. They're going to play 10 guys, I bet, in the secondary every game.
That's a lot. Is that good? Do you think, because secondary, obviously you want to have that rotation at the defensive line, right? You want to stay fresh. It's a little interesting doing it at inside linebacker, the way that they do it. Is it good to have that many guys play in the secondary?
If you don't have stars and you've got a bunch of guys that are about the same, I think it is because whenever if you've got 11 studs that you're playing on defense and those are your guys, well, everyone else throughout the week is like twiddling their thumbs during practice, not getting any reps, not worried about getting any reps, not worried about knowing what's going to happen. But when you know you're playing, it's the preparation's completely different when you're a two and you know that you're going to play in the football game. So I would say as a whole, it's probably better for the football team that they do it that way. I think it is. And let's be honest, corner, it's fairly simple as far as mentally what's going on out there. Now, I would prefer that Turner Yell never come out of the game because he's the guy that's coordinated it all from the back end, with all that experience, the rotations and how they're doing their combo coverages and stuff like that. So aside from him, let's rotate it. If there's not a guy that's just like pure and simple, by far the best at that position, let's get a lot of guys through there.
I thought Bryson Washington did some good things in the spring game. Had a few nice plays, a couple big hits, right? And then undercut Stogner in the end zone. Yeah, almost had that nice INT, but Stogner kind of ripped it away from him. That was a guy where I wasn't sure how he was going to factor in this year, but all of a sudden out there on Saturday, he's making plays. So it's going to be a hell of a competition in the back end.
Yep. Inside backers, no different.
Oh, man.
They probably have a little bit better feel of what they're going to do, but yet again, it's a position group that I think honestly goes 3 deep at the Mike and the Will backer. There's some good solid play there. At Mike, you can play Agwebu, you can play White, you can play Mead, and let's not forget Stutzman's coming in, that they're going to throw him in the mix right away. Plus Caleb Kelly, Will Backer, Asamoah, Deshaun White can play the Will. Shane Witter plays the Will. I mean, all those guys can go out there, and you don't feel like you've had hardly any fall off at all. So, and I like the way that they played on Saturday, running around, making tackles, physical play, coming downhill on some stuff, taking on blockers and linemen. So I liked what I saw at inside backer. I'll tell you what I liked on the D line. I thought Stripling looked really good at rush backer. I really liked what I saw from him.
Yeah. I liked what I saw from Ethan Downs too.
Mm-hmm.
I think and I know Clayton Smith was the highest recruited kid, and I understand that, but right now, I'm just saying right now, maybe not in the future, Ethan Downs is a better player.
Yeah.
He's ready to play now. I think, Smith could end up being the more talented guy.
I loved
But
his motor. I love Clayton
right,
Smith's motor out there. He was playing hard,
absolutely.
playing fast, probably in the wrong spot on some stuff, but that's going to happen. Remember, he's an early arrival. I wouldn't have known how to put my helmet on as an early arrival. So the fact that these guys are out there making plays and flying around with the big boys is still amazing to me.
Yeah, and the defensive line rotation, I mean, it looks like it's going to be substantial. I would say the guy that probably looked the most improved to me was Reggie Grimes, just from the way he was moving. He is a massive dude. I mean, he's just a big ass dude, but made some nice plays. That one he got to Rattler, just beat Marquis Hayes coming around kind of on one of their play action concepts, kind of like a fake gap scheme play action concept, just beat him with speed up the field. So yeah, I mean, I know OU fans are a little scared sometimes to get too excited about the defense, but it doesn't feel like that anymore. It feels like everybody is anticipating. I don't know if I want to say the defense to be the strength of the team, but it's certainly starting to feel like that, right?
We got a guy that's going to be a front runner for the Heisman Trophy, and I think the defense is the strength of the team. At least right now, and things could change, but right now I think the defense is the strength of the team. And as deep as they are, I honestly don't see that changing. I mean, you can get hit with some injuries typically. Can you imagine if Kenneth Murray would have gotten hurt on one of those years, or if Obo goes down? Like right now,
Catastrophic.
it's catastrophic. I can't think of one player on this team. Now they're definitely better with these guys out there. There's no doubt, but I can't think of one player on the team defensively. If you lost, you're like, oh my God. I mean, what are we going to do from here? And that guy may be Turner Yell, which is crazy to say.
Or maybe Billy Bowman. My God, that kid looked good. I mean, he
did.
so good.
He did.
Okay, for our call your shot question, we asked you to give us your boldest takeaway from OU's spring game. And Austin Wood at awood405 on Twitter says the OU defense finishes ranked overall higher than the OU offense does. That is bold because when you it's pretty much a lock that OU is going to be a top 5, top 8 offense.
I think they were like 10 or 12 last year.
Okay, so let's say they're going to be
10. They'll be a top 10.
A top 10 offense. So and this is an interesting conversation because I would say the most important thing for defense is scoring defense. That's the stat that I look at the most. Like, hey, do you give up points or not? Do they have the ability to be a top 10 scoring defense? I think they do.
I'll tell you why. We were talking about this on the show it was probably a month and a half ago. And in their non-conference slate, their 3 non-conference games, I predict they give up a total of 16 total points. So that's going to start them off really, really, really good. And, I think honestly, the formula has changed. If we go back and watch last year and feel like that's going to translate a bit this year, the formula for this team has changed a little bit. Lincoln has called plays a little more conservatively. Maybe that's because he had a freshman quarterback a year ago. Maybe it's because they struggled running the football, but I don't know. I see them. It's almost one of those things where in Alabama has gone through this. The better your offense is, the more difficult it can be to play good defense because you have to be out there so much so quickly. So I don't know if we mirror kind of what we did last year offensively. I think they could definitely be a top 10 defense.
Yeah, we'll see. It's exciting just to talk
No,
about,
it's
like to
fun.
be this excited about OU's defense.
And
Another
this time
one.
we're going to be warmed up for it. Last year, I don't think we were prepared as a fan base, going into the season. So it was weird to watch, and it was all ended up being more complaining about the offense instead of being happy about what the defense has done and how that Lincoln was calling plays and playing to that a little bit. We'll be prepared this year.
Yeah. OU fans, they adapt, they adjust. Spray Family Sooners at Spray_Richard12 says Mario Williams will have more receiving yards than Marvin Mims, but Mims will have more TDs.
Huh.
If I could maybe see that. I don't think that is a crazy prediction from our man Richard Spray, I'm guessing is our guy's name, which I'm starting to realize may be a joke, but if it's not, then sorry, Richard. Sorry, but I think Mario Williams is going to have a big year, big freshman year. I will say this about Mario Williams. Lincoln Riley told us that he likes his vibe. And I'm not sure I've ever heard a coach say, I like his vibe. When a coach likes your vibe, he tends to draw up plays for you to get the football. So I don't think it's crazy to think that Mario Williams could have more receiving yards than Marvin Mims. But once again, I know that Mims didn't have a huge spring game, but he is going to have a big year. So I'll still take Mims over Williams just because he's a year older, but that's a fun conversation to have for sure.
It is, and thanks for the question, Dick Spray. But I think that I think I would probably flip it. I think I would say maybe that he has more touchdowns, but Mims is kind of the go-to guy and has a ton of receptions and a ton of yards, but he may use Williams in a bunch of, like the reverse and stuff like that, deep balls, gadget plays over the middle. And he doesn't necessarily have a huge volume of catches and yards, but those plays are special and turn into touchdowns. But that combination is going to be fun to watch.
Maybe more yards from scrimmage for Mario Williams, but we'll see. I think both of those dudes are.
We did hear him compared to Tyreek Hill, and that's one of the things
now.
And that's one of the things they do with him is whether it's toss sweeps and weird little gadget running plays, they get him the ball in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Okay, let's move on to the National College Football Roundup. But first, let's talk money. First Fidelity Bank is a full-service financial institution based in Oklahoma with tailored solutions for all your personal and business needs. Checking accounts, savings accounts, home loans, and much more. They do it all, whether it's online banking from your computer or mobile banking from your phone. Everything is stress-free with FFB. Making mobile deposits, paying bills online, and moving money to different accounts could not be easier. First Fidelity Bank also provides free ATMs worldwide, making banking convenient wherever you are. They also give back to the community. FFB donates a total of more than $500,000 to local charities and educational foundations. Make your life easier and go bank at First Fidelity Bank. Visit ffb.com for more information. And guys, spring is here, and you know what that means. It is hard seltzer season, baby. And there's only one hard seltzer that we drink on this podcast, and that is Will and Wiley Hard Seltzer from Coop Ale Works. It's perfect for any occasion. We drink it by the pool, at the lake, and at the tailgate, and maybe after the spring game. It's made in Oklahoma, and it is absolutely delicious. Will and Wiley is customized for the Oklahoma lifestyle. Go find it right now in a store near you and go follow them on social media at Will and Wiley. If you're drinking some because of us, let them know. Okay, Ted, National College Football Roundup. Now, we were obviously very excited about the spring game, but some pretty significant news coming out in the college football world. Article by Ross Dellinger in Sports Illustrated highlighted a few things that could basically change the fabric of college football. The Football Oversight Committee is going to recommend some relatively drastic changes to training camp. These recommendations are a result of a study that the NCAA did where they tracked 6 teams from 2015 to 2019, and there were some interesting results that showed that 72% of concussions amongst that group occurred during practice, with nearly 50% of those concussions happening in training camp. It's kind of hard to argue with that data when they frame it that way. So here are what the changes are sounding like. So right now they have 25 training camp practices. They're going to keep it at that number, but the new model would include 9 padless practices, meaning helmets only. There would then be 8 practices in shells, meaning helmets and shoulder pads only, and then 8 full padded, full contact practices. So a 9-8-8 model. Don't they realize that padless practices are the worst ones? Like, did anybody tell them, like, hey, you realize, and I know it's supposed to be contactless, but that's not how it goes. It's full contact. You're just in helmets only. The worst concussion I ever got in my college or pro career was in a padless practice in training camp in Cleveland. Wow. I took someone's shoulder bone straight to the side of my head. I would have much rather taken a shoulder pad.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know that these numbers make any sense. The results showed that 72% of concussions occurred during practice. Well, think about how many more practice reps you have than game reps throughout a year. I mean, they just went through 15 total practices at probably 100 plus reps a day, 1,500 reps, and there's no game in there. Of course, those numbers are going to be higher. You practice way more than you play. I mean, defensively, you'll probably play 70 snaps in a game, give or take some reps. But throughout the week in practice, you're going to take 5-8 times that amount. So, of course, there's a higher percentage of concussions occur during practice. How does that compare to all injuries? How many guys do we have injured right now from spring ball that weren't injured in a game? I would bet it's probably runs pretty in line with knee injuries, ankle injuries, shoulder injuries, all of that stuff. So I don't know. I obviously want as few of concussions as possible.
Absolutely.
I want this game to be played. I want it to be played safely. But you do have to realize that whenever you get to a certain level in this game, it's a risk that you know about, and you're going to have to make a decision on whether or not you want to take that risk to continue playing the game. And if you don't want to take that risk, I totally understand. You just may have to go do something else. Because I don't know, they can practice 25 times in training camp without putting pads on at all, but I don't know that in the grand scheme of things that's ever going to help with anything. Maybe it will.
Yeah, this new model would limit consecutive full padded practices to 2. So you could only have 2 full padded practices in a row. Now there's no 2-a-days. 2-a-days have already been eliminated since 2018 is when they did away with them. So I'm talking about back-to-back days. you can only have 2 full padded practices, and then you got to mix in either a padless or a shells practice in between another full padded practice in those two. So I'm with you, man. You look at it's a violent game, and I think that we want this game to be as safe as possible, right? You want it to be as safe as possible, but the risk is always going to be there because the game is based around big, strong dudes running into each other at really high speeds. Like there's, I, it would be my dream for head injuries to somehow be erased from football, but it's just not possible, man. It's not. So you look at the Football Oversight Committee also looking at abolishing the Oklahoma drill and board drill from college football, and you say, okay, yeah, that'll probably limit some head-to-head contact, which is probably good, right? Probably few that'll probably reduce some helmet-to-helmet contact. But Ted, how many guys do you know that they got a concussion during the Oklahoma drill?
0.
I don't know. I mean, the big hits happen in inside drill and 11 on 11 when you're going team. Like, I don't really recall ever seeing a guy going one-on-one in Oklahoma drill and being like, oh my God, what a huge collision. Like, is he okay? I don't know. Once again, I want this game to be as safe as possible for these kids. Like I do, but there's a certain value in Oklahoma drill. Like you can, frankly, you can earn respect from your teammates in that drill.
Mm-hmm.
You can.
Plus, it's football.
You can measure toughness. Yeah. And it is football.
It's a guy blocking a guy and a ball carrier. That happens in every single drill. Now You're just doing it one-on-one. It's not really any different.
So I guess the question becomes, how much contact do college football players need in training camp to prepare their bodies? And I always use this word, and people look at me funny when I use this word, but how much contact do college football players need in training camp to prepare their bodies for the trauma of the season? Because if your body is not ready to go, and you always use the term calloused, right? Mm-hmm. Bad things can happen. Like if your neck muscles aren't built up, if you haven't been straining the way that you're going to be straining in a game, in practice, shit can go wrong. And you have to have your body prepared for that trauma. And that includes getting hit in the head. Like that's just the truth. So I don't know the answer, right? The NFL's tried to figure it out. I don't know if anyone knows the answer, but
I've got the answer, but no one wants it.
Here we go.
Have you ever watched a football game from the 60s?
I mean, I've seen the footage.
Well, they played completely different. Whenever someone tackled a guy, they didn't come up and run their face right through the guy's jaw. They came up and hit him with the shoulder. And the reason they did that was because the helmets sucked, right? So what we keep doing to try and fix the concussion issue is making better and better helmets. Well, all you're doing is allowing the guys to turn that helmet into a weapon, right? You feel indestructible whenever you have this helmet on. It's got air in it. It's cushioned. It's got gel in it. It's this big structure.
They're comfortable now, man. Like I wore the Visus my last year. I think that's how you say it. Visus. The one, I mean, it's kind of heavy, but like you put it on and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've got a pillow on my head.
It's not a helmet. It's a weapon. Okay. That's what it is. and the better you make it feel, the softer it is, the less impact you have whenever you hit, the more you're going to use it as a weapon. If you want to get concussions out of football, it's easy. You take the face mask off. That's it. You
Could you
take the
imagine?
face mask off. Well, yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine guys are going to go in there and tackle a little bit different if they don't, have something covering their face, or at least eliminate there's a reason guys wear the grid like this, right? Because they're using their helmet as a weapon. If 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 you can't do that anymore, you're not gonna get concussed yourself, and you're not gonna concuss other people. But whenever you go diving in there with your helmet because you feel indestructible, you're gonna get yourself and someone else hurt. That's my
Right.
take on it.
Yeah. But you look at this, and I'm expecting this to happen. I'm expecting these changes to be made, but it seems like when you talk about eliminating the Oklahoma drill, eliminating some of this contact, it would have the biggest effect on offensive and defensive linemen because, and I don't just mean from a health and, head trauma standpoint. I mean from an improvement standpoint. Like it's really hard to get better as an offensive lineman when you can't hit
Well,
people. Like,
that's another way to look at this, though. Okay, so 72% of concussions occurred in practice, but where in practice did they occur? Did they occur in offensive line and defensive line working together and doing combo drills and doing one-on-ones?
God, combo
And
drills sucks so bad.
is that where the concussions are coming, or are they coming from players that are out running at full speed and having collisions, whether on accident or on purpose? Like, that's where you get most of your concussions from. You typically don't get it on the line of scrimmage. You may get it on ISOs and stuff where a puller's blocking the end guy on the line of scrimmage. But I would say that probably a majority of your concussions happen out on the peripheral of the drill, not on the interior. So is there a way to maybe have the wide receivers and DBs less padded, and to where you don't have the high speed collisions out there, and the offensive defensive line can still get their work in? Which I know those guys would love that rule, right?
Oh my
It's like, all
gosh.
right, the guys on the line of scrimmage are full pads, everyone else is in helmets, baby.
O line, D line, full pads. Rest of you guys, helmets only. What? Are you got to be shitting me? But it it is going to be interesting to see, especially at the line of scrimmage. And I know what you're saying from from the big hits, right? And I think there's some more research about like just the consecutive hits that
Yeah.
offensive and defensive linemen take, not as high impact as some of the hits that the skill guys take, but just the repetitive nature of it. That's also something that's interesting. But ultimately, I think if you're gonna have more padless practices, you have to find ways to improve your technique because blocking a guy that doesn't have shoulder pads on is not the same. That's just not. When you're trying to become a great offensive lineman, like your aiming points are based on the helmet and shoulder pads. It's like, hey, outside armpit, but like you're reaching for that part of the pad. Like there's stuff on defensive linemen you can grab. And if you can't grab that, you can't work getting better. You just can't. So I don't know, man.
I always feel like the fights between offensive and defensive linemen ramp up whenever you're not in pads. Obviously, because there's like
No, you just hold. I mean, you
there's
just grab the
well,
jerseys. Like you're
that's
just,
what ends up happening is
yeah,
you
you
got
have
this
to.
big loose jersey where you're trying to grab, and then it comes up here and wrenches a guy's neck, and he gets all pissed off, and it ends up blowing up, and someone gets punched, and there's another concussion. It goes to the 72%.
So we all want less concussions, but we wonder if this will result in more injuries. Otherwise, I don't know. but football continues to change. Seems
Yep.
like it's going to be implemented. Now it's up to coaches, players to adjust, and they'll adjust. It'll be all right. But RIP to the Oklahoma drill, man. Did not see that one coming. Gosh. But one other huge thing in the world of college football, the College Football Playoff Management Committee was presented with different models for expanding the college football playoff. We know that expansion is inevitable. It's going to happen, but they were presented with all kinds of different conference champion and at-large combinations for a playoff that could have as few as 6 teams or as many as 16 teams. Now, for anything to change, it has to be approved by the CFB Board of Managers. It's no secret that a lot of people want to expand the college football playoff, but Bill Hancock said that there won't be a new format this year or next year. Now, I understand maybe not changing it this year because that would be kind of a quick turnaround, but if you're going to expand it, we all know it's going to expand. I don't see any reason why expansion couldn't be in place by next year, Ted.
It could be in place by this year.
I'm with you. Why not?
This, dude, college football is the slowest moving organization in the history of mankind on anything. It took us, 80 years to finally get 4 teams in a playoff. So they need 8 years to talk about it before they ever even get the ball rolling. So I don't know. They could, simply put, they could if they wanted to. They really could. We saw the whole thing is I don't want to say scam, but like after last season, when we saw people playing each other in the span of a week, picking up a game and playing it, like, don't tell me anything can't be done anymore. I've already seen it. Okay. That argument is useless.
I watched BYU go to Coastal Carolina and
right,
lose.
that happened.
I watched it with my damn eyes. But I'm a fan of the 4. I know that it's consistently the same teams. I get it. But if you expand, it's probably going to be the same teams. But I have reached a point, Ted, where I was always a guy that if you expanded to 8, okay, I wanted the best 8. Just give me the top 8. Give me the 8 highest ranked teams. But for the health of college football and for the popularity of the sport and, for it to continue to grow and have people interested, I think I've gotten to the point where I'm on board with having all 5 Power 5 champions in. I think I've come to the realization that is probably the best thing for college football. It will have more people interested in the conference championship games, which means more people will be interested in the regular season races in the conference. Now, the other 3, if you want to give a group of 5, the top group of 5 team, okay, fine. That gives that entire division some more hope, which is, I guess it's not its own division, but you know what I mean. That gives a bunch of those teams and those fan bases hope. So I'm fine with that. And then I guess you do 2 at-larges. I don't know what the best format is, but it seems like a format similar to that would keep the most college football fans engaged with, which I think ultimately is the goal and would be the best thing for the sport.
Yeah. If you're going to leave the conferences and everything in their current format, in my opinion, 8 teams with 3 at large is the best way to do it. And the reason for me is all the things you said, but here's the extra kicker. If you take the conference champion, if you win your conference, you're guaranteed to make the college football playoff. Teams aren't scared to death to play a good non-conference schedule. We play Western Carolina, Tulane, and a god-awful Nebraska team. Okay, and I know it's not
less gross
that Nebraska sucks, but the reason we scheduled it a decade ago is because people are scared to schedule a good team the next year because, well, what if we have a chance to make the playoff? You can eliminate all of that crap immediately if you're guaranteed to make the playoff if you win your conference. You can play whoever you want. And, you know, if you're an Oklahoma fan, quite frankly, and I'm buying season tickets and, you know, my home games are Western Carolina, Missouri State, and then let's be honest about the Big 12 now. Our biggest rival we don't ever get to host in OU, Texas. Okay. The rest of the teams, as far as like excitement level and the history of college football, it really sucks. It sucks. We don't get to host a Penn State, Ohio State, Wisconsin, or an Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Florida. We get Tech, Kansas, Kansas State. Like these are fine schools and they're Big 12 schools, but it doesn't really necessarily move the needle in the world of college football. So if I'm Joe C and I'm the Big 12, I'm doing everything I can to get the 8 format with the conference champion goes. That way we could start scheduling some big time non-conference games to bring some fans, get some excitement into our stadium, because it's rare that we get to host good teams. It's like once every 5 years.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Plus, the other thing
it's common.
Yeah, the bowl games. All the stars are opting out. They don't care about bowl games anymore. Even the Cotton Bowl. We played in the Cotton Bowl last year and had guys opting out left and right. Players just don't care about bowl games anymore. If you want the stars to stay and you want sponsors to pay big money for bowl games, it better mean something. It better be part of a playoff.
Right. If it expands, I wonder, like say you're a team, you're an at-large team, you're the 8 seed playing the 1. You don't want to opt out of that game, right? Because then you kind of look like an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you look like you are, like, if you're good enough to opt out,
right?
You want to play against the best team in the country. Because I guess the concern would be that guys would still say, hey, you know, we really don't have a realistic chance of winning the national championship. I'm out. But then
don't give them time to think about it. Play it right after the conference championship games is round 1.
Love it.
You sit around for a month and everyone sits there and talks to you about, man, you really want to play? Come on. They're going to kill you guys. You can't guard that guy. You've had a great season. Why would you go get roasted by this dude? You need to opt out, man. Just play it right away. They don't even have time for that.
Won't even know what hit them.
That's right. Just excited that they made it.
Expansion is coming, people. One other thing before we get to our winners and losers. Prayers up for the Central Michigan football family. They had a quarterback, John Keller, who was shot at a house party over the weekend. And from reports, sounds like he is in serious condition. So that's just awful. So prayers up for that young man and Central Michigan football. Yikes, man. That sucks. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And smooth transition. Do you own a business? If you do, you need Insurica in your life. Insurica is one of the country's largest insurance brokers with 30 offices throughout Oklahoma, Texas, and the Southwest. Insurica is able to customize programs by accessing the latest information from many insurance carriers. They compare and contrast coverage offerings and pricing in order to design a cost-effective, comprehensive program to meet your business's specific needs. Insurica's clients become best-in-class businesses by working with Insurica's team of advisors to manage risk. Purchasing insurance is only one way to protect your business. Best-in-class businesses win by avoiding a loss in the first place. If your business partners with Insurica, you'll save huge amounts of money and take back control of your total cost of risk. I'm an Insurica client, and you should be too. If your business wants to be best-in-class, connect with Insurica at insurica.com. That's INSURICA.com. And don't forget to connect with our friends at Advanced Weight Loss Clinic of Sand Springs. They'll help you execute a realistic and achievable weight loss plan designed for you and only you. They've got all kinds of treatments for men and women. Their licensed and trained experts combine diet and exercise with hormone therapies to maximize your results. If you're struggling with low libido or low energy, Advanced Weight Loss Clinic at Sand Springs can help with that too. They also offer Botox and fillers. To get on the path to losing weight, call 918-241-LOSE or visit their Facebook page. If you mention the podcast, you will get a free fat burner injection. Nice. Okay, Ted, who do you have as your winner of the weekend?
West Virginia football program. They just signed Neil Brown to an extension. It's going to take him to just under $4 million per year. I know you really like Neil Brown and what he's done there. I do too. But the real reason I wanted to bring them up as the winners, because I think that West Virginia game to start off conference play next year may be one of the more scary games of the year. We're going to have 3 bad non-conference opponents. Tulane, we're going to kill. Western Carolina may be the worst team in all of college football, and Nebraska, who already wanted to cancel the game. We're going to kill those guys. And after that, things jump at us pretty quickly. Kansas State, we're going to want payback on them. They beat us 2 straight. OU Texas is looming. That West Virginia game, we didn't play them last year I thought West Virginia had a really good team last year. And we didn't play them to get a feel for how much they've improved. So I'm just worried that West Virginia game's going to be overlooked a little bit. And I think they're going to be pretty salty coming in.
Yeah, if you recall, we did the preview of that game twice.
Yeah.
And it never happened. Remember?
And they were the 2 best shows we did.
They were fantastic. If you missed them, go back and listen to them. But we were concerned, especially with that defensive front for West Virginia.
Yep.
And, from some of the conversations I've had with Neil Brown, it sounds like I know they lose Darius Stills, but they think that they're going to be even better on the defensive line this year because they got a couple of young guys that have taken steps. The Mesidor kid was really productive last year, and he's their most improved guy. He won their most improved award. Also, did you happen to catch West Virginia's spring game this weekend? It was on Saturday, and it was on ESPN Plus, and I'm going to have to talk about it on my Big 12 show. So I watched it. They got, first of all, they started the spring game off doing the Oklahoma drill. Like right after they had announced it was 3-on-3. It was a little modified version of it, but I was like, I see you, Neil Brown. Yes, stick it to the man. Do it while you can, Neil. But Jared Dagey was out there. He looked okay. They got a quarterback named Garrett Green. Teddy, you will love this kid. I'm sure Dagey will be the guy this year, but this little dude was slinging it all over the place. And this little white dude can run, bro.
Oh, boy.
I mean, he was fun to watch. Garrett Green. Remember the name, man. I'm telling you, he was all over the place in their spring game. And I was like, uh-oh, I don't like that. I don't like that one bit.
No, that's always tough to deal with. But, hey, I thought it was West Virginia locking up Neil Brown. I think he's done a fantastic job there.
Great coach. Okay, who do you have as your loser of the week?
It's the NFL. I can't understand this. So they okay the rule allowing the jersey numbers in the single digits, but then they say, but if you want to switch numbers this year, you have to buy out the jersey, all of the jersey inventory that's out there with your name on it. Dalvin Cook was going to switch from 33 to number 4, was going to cost him $1.5 million to change. Those aren't his jerseys. He shouldn't have to buy that out. What if he got traded? What if he got cut? What if, I thought that was ridiculous part of the rule, but nonetheless, there's the NFL for you.
Okay. I'm not a lawyer. Doesn't that feel illegal? I'm assuming it's not because they did, but doesn't it feel illegal? They can't do that.
It does. Well, I don't know. I would be so pissed. I would probably back out and be like, well, I don't care that much about my number. But If I was one of the uber rich players, I'd be like, nope, I'm changing and I'm not buying out my jersey. You guys can you can thank me when you sell all of my new jersey numbers.
So that's interesting because on the sideline at the spring game, I talked to Kenneth Murray about him switching back to 9. And he said it was in the works. Like he wants 9 there for the Chargers. I wonder if he was aware, because I'm just going to go on a limb and say there's a lot of Kenneth Murray jerseys available out there.
Probably decent inventory for sure.
I wonder if he knew that. It still feels illegal to me. I feel like you're tricking me.
I wish I was, but that's why I have him as the loser. I think it's stupid. So I don't know. That's it.
Is it because Tom Brady complained about it?
Probably.
Do you see that? He's like, it'll be too tough to identify the rushers and stuff. I was like, okay, Tom, come on, dude. You've been doing this for forever. Let's be real. He put it on his Instagram and everything. He was like, get off my lawn was one of the things. I was like, straight old man move. But I feel like I need to double check this. This really feels illegal to me.
I agree.
I believe you.
Unless they already put that into the CBA somehow and knew that this change was coming and had everyone sign off on it first. So I don't
Interesting. God, that would be, you're like, yeah, I'm changing for $2 million. No, I'm not changing.
False alarm.
All right. Riverwind. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's casino premier. What's up?
I got to hit a timeout. My computer is about to automatically kick off and restart.
Okay.
So let me restart it. Hopefully reboot it. Hopefully it doesn't take very long to load whatever it has to do.
Okay.
And then I'll sign back in.
Sounds good.
Cool. Okay. Sorry about that.
And we're back, baby. We're back. I'm leaving that in. It was too good. For all the people that watch this on YouTube, they're going to get to see you actually call timeout with your hands,
yes.
which was
I could see you like pause it, like, wait, is that a signal to me? What the heck is he doing?
The look on your face, I was like, okay, something's wrong, but still tremendous. That's the content that I'm the most proud of right there. That's
my computer. Like it's usually Sunday nights. It's my work computer, and they like have security stuff that they add in or new programs that they add in. And it's like, you don't have a choice. It's restarting at this time. So get ready. So it hit me with the 2-minute warning. And I figured I'd go ahead and try and get it redone before we just axed right there in the middle of the show. So
you
sorry about that.
Timeout, which was so good. All right. Riverwind. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience. There are temperature screenings at all entrances and masks are required for all patrons and employees because your safety is Riverwind's #1 priority. There are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful, award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack, blackjack match, roulette, and craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And Fridays in April from 6 p.m. to midnight, you can win your share of $100,000 in cash and bonus play in Riverwind's Baskets and Cash promotion. If you need help finding your way, just visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, simply the one. And make sure you send your kids to Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School. Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School has a long tradition of educational excellence. They know that children need to be in school and are doing everything possible to make that happen. Bishop McGinnis students were welcomed back last August and saw very few interruptions in 2020. With a 12-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio, no student is overlooked. Bishop McGinnis's college prep curriculum offers 22 AP courses. If you want to provide the best possible educational and spiritual development for your children, contact Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School or visit bmchs.org. Financial aid is available. Okay, thought about going with OU softball as my winner of the weekend after they scored 18 runs in an inning against Texas Tech on Sunday. I mean, what?
Poor Plank. I know that he was hoping that there was going to be a chance that would end fast and he was going to be able to get over to the spring game and maybe jump in on the end of the broadcast, but
A lot of people have made some requests for us to have Patty Gasso on. So I'm gonna start working on that.
be fun.
I also thought about going with Madison Bumgarner because he threw. We don't talk a ton of baseball in here, but he threw a no hitter for the Diamondbacks against the Braves. But it was the second game of a doubleheader, and with the way that they changed things, it was only a 7 inning game. So he threw a no hitter, but it was only 7 innings. And I guess that doesn't count as a no hitter, even though he didn't give up a hit. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I was like, he's the winner, but he's not because it's not a no hitter technically.
Well, if nobody got a hit, then it's a no hitter. I don't care if the game was 3 innings. It may not go as an official one or whatever, but I'm still popping the champagne if I'm Bumgarner.
Absolutely. Nice job, Mad Bum. But my winner of the weekend is Baker Mayfield because the Cleveland Browns have exercised Baker's 5th-year option. And this is definitely not a surprise or anything like that, but it does mean that he will make just under $19 million for the 2022 season. Now he's eligible for an extension later this year. We'll see if the Browns want to get that done this offseason or wait until next offseason to get that worked out. But Ted, you just go back and think about how he struggled in that 2019 season, right? His second year after having the good rookie year. And there were some doubters. There was no doubt. There were some doubters, but Stefanski comes in, gives him some stability. He plays well. And it's impressive the way that Baker bounced back from that bad year and the way that he played last year. And it wasn't always going well for him, especially early last season, but ends up taking the Browns to the playoffs. They win a game. I mean, they went to Pittsburgh and beat the Steelers. I think this is going to give him even more confidence, which I don't know if it's possible to have more confidence than that guy has, but I think this could be the first step in him making a big jump in year 2 under Stefanski. And I think the Browns picking up that option will only give him more confidence to lead that team. And that seems like a good situation for the old Cleveland Browns. Look at Cleveland go.
Well, there's nothing like $19 million to give you peace of mind, Gabe, right?
True.
So I'm sure he is feeling confident and like the team's behind him going into this next season. Uh, what else are you going to do? Of course, they pick it up. Now, I could understand maybe if last year didn't go the way that it did and he never, after a slow start, if he never put it together, but he did and he played well. I'll tell you one of the interesting things, though. I've never really heard Stefanski say much good about Baker, but he's kind of a dry personality, anyways, and doesn't really say a whole heck of a lot. But I don't know. And maybe that's because there was contract stuff going on, but he, at least from what I've seen, it's like he was never necessarily just glowing about his quarterback. But it doesn't matter at this point. He's got 19 million bucks, and he's going to be around. So I bet they get an extension done too.
Yeah, hopefully that would be. I think if you kind of maybe want to get it done now, if you're the
Yeah,
Browns, right? Because you would assume they're going to be good again, and that offensive line is going to be healthy. They're going to be really good. I think when you look
they're
at
going to
that
be
roster.
good, and the price for quarterbacks is not going to drop. It's going to continue to
Correct.
go up.
Absolutely. Okay, my loser of the weekend. Uh, Thought about going with people that don't like violence because UFC 261 had some brutal moments, right? Usman puts Masvidal straight to sleep
You see the
with
sweat pop off of his head. Oh my god.
with one of the hardest punches to the
Oh,
jaw you'll ever see. And that was after the Chris Weidman, oh my gosh, just snaps his leg like a toothpick against Uriah Hall.
And
That
one of the
was,
girls got kicked in the face and knocked out, right?
yeah. I mean, there were some brutal moments in the UFC fights this weekend, but also thought about going with Baylor because kind of out of nowhere, LSU poached Kim Mulkey from Baylor. I know she's from Louisiana, but she's been at Baylor for like 21 years and they're awesome. I believe they would have won the national championship if Dee Dee Richards didn't get hurt in their game against UConn. I truly believe that. I think they were the best team in the country last year, and she just bounced. I was shocked. I was like, wait, what?
And I see, I don't. LSU is not a school that I've heard a whole, and maybe they're better than I'm giving them credit for. But is their women's hoops team anything that's not one of the teams you typically hear about? Stanford, Notre Dame. I know Tennessee used to be big, not anymore. But LSU's not one that I've heard of.
Yeah, that's because it's Baylor. Baylor's the pro. It's Baylor, UConn, South Carolina, Stanford. Stanford just won. So, like,
And some
those
other
are the
teams
big ones.
pop up every now and then. Notre Dame's had a couple, and yeah, that's weird. Weird.
I guess, hey, want to get back to the home state. I don't know, but that was really surprising. But my loser of the weekend, the Baltimore Ravens, and don't say
Loser
that
of the
often.
year. Loser of the year.
I feel like they're one of the best run organizations, right? And I think you feel the same way. But them trading Orlando Brown in general is bad, right? A young, dominant player at a premier position in the league. But they traded him to the Chiefs. I mean, for a couple picks.
For nothing.
It's
a first round
confusing.
of the last pick of the first round.
I know he asked for a trade, but you don't send him to the damn Chiefs. It's pretty obvious that Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are in the Baltimore Ravens' way to getting to a Super Bowl, right? We all know that, right? Why the hell would you trade him to the Chiefs? I guess the only argument that could be made is that, hey, you only used a third round pick on him in the first place. So if you look at it from that standpoint, you're getting a good return.
No.
On him.
Good return
I was trying to figure it out.
Whenever he goes to the Pro Bowl 2 years in a row, there's your good return. And starts at tackle for you for the next 15 years. That's your good return. Unbelievable.
So I saw it and I just couldn't believe it because, okay, yeah, he asked for a trade. Okay, I get it. Maybe you want to get some more draft capital. They are all about acquiring draft picks there in Baltimore. But like you said, he's gone to back-to-back Pro Bowls. He's not even 25 years old. I mean, he's still 24. I think he turns 25 on like May 1st or 2nd or something like that.
He's not even going to hit his prime at tackle. You were telling me about how tackles older the better.
He's probably 4 or 5 years away from being in his prime as a player. And they traded him for a can of peanuts. Like what?
Nothing. I get it that he wanted out, he wanted to trade, he wanted to play left tackle. I got it, but you just traded him to the best team in your conference for nothing. For nothing. For a hope with 3 picks, the last in the first round, and then 2, like a third round, or it's crazy.
He's one of the best pass protectors in the league. I don't know, man. I know Eric DaCosta feels like he knows what he's doing when it comes to drafting players, but damn, I know there's been some reports that maybe they'll grab Alejandro Villanueva as a free agent, right? But
great. That doesn't change the value of Orlando Brown.
I know. But that puts a lot of pressure for them to hit on an offensive lineman in this draft, but I don't know, man. I saw that and I had to read it and read it again and read it again because I was like, what the hell are they doing? Anywhere but the Chiefs. Okay, you
Great
trade
for
him.
Orlando. I mean, it's
Oh
awesome
my
for
God.
Orlando Brown. He just got a home for the next 15 years, protecting Patrick Mahomes. Awesome. Congrats.
Yeah, great for Orlando. And you all of a sudden look at that Chiefs offensive line. It's pretty damn good
Mm-hmm.
now with what they did in free agency. What Blythe, they've got the doctor coming back,
Yep.
right? Tardif, they've
I don't
got
know. He may not be able to get out of Canada. They've locked that country down, man.
yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see if the doctor can make it back. Remember, they got Kyle Long, right? Came out of retirement.
Yep.
I mean, they're going to be. Oh, and Thuney. I mean, they're going to be loaded. They're going to have a great offensive line. And they just got Orlando Brown for nothing. Like, unbelievable. Good for you, Patrick Mahomes. Look at good for the Belldozer. The Belldozer's back in Kansas City, baby. Let's go.
That's insane to me from
The look on
Baltimore's
your
end.
face as we discuss this, that's the look you have on your face right now is the look I had on my face when the trade went down and I was reading the details. I was like, that can't be the trade.
You
That can't
trade
be.
a guaranteed great tackle, already made 2 Pro Bowls for what is the 31st pick in the first round. If you asked any team in the NFL if they had the 31st pick in the draft, if they had the ability to draft a guy that's already been to 2 Pro Bowls, is 25 years old, and is going to start at tackle for the next decade, you think they would do it? Hell yes, they would do it. It's insanity. Guy should be fired instantly. If I was the owner, I'd go kick his door in right now, asking what the hell he's doing to my football team.
I think the owner's got his own problems. I think he's got his own problems, but it's just confusing. All right, man. On that note, episode 106 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop Thursday morning. Just a reminder, you can hear Teddy from 2 to 6 on Sports Talk 1400. You can hear me from 3 to 5 on SiriusXM channel 375. Hope you all have a great week. Until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. And do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.